Let's go on with what I've got today. So at this point, I'd like to work closely with my script so that I can give you as much value as I want to do today within the time that I have. What are the things that you are going to, that you have started learning already from RCV? So this month, we're going from telling you definitions, different definitions from different scholars, different thought leaders on culture, corporate culture, from helping you be able to sink them in and see from the lenses of those gurus, to helping you know what you lose if your company is cultureless. Don't forget, there's no cultureless society, except there aren't humans there. Once there is human being anywhere, there's culture. So last week, I started by encouraging you to make it a deliberate one. Because whether you are deliberate about it or not, there is culture. Because it's an organization and things are supposed to be done properly in organizations, there is more demand for companies to be definite, deliberate, intentional about their culture, just as it is for every other human society that you know. So last week, the major thing I came out to tell you is ensure it's deliberate. You are not safe on a default culture mode. The next thing today is to show you a few signs. But before I go into the signs, so signs that help you know whether you are having a healthy or an unhealthy culture, which begins from, of course, being deliberate. So let's start by going ahead to look at definitions. I have 3 definitions from 3 platforms, and I have my own definition, very simple and succinct. All right, so definition 1, organizational culture. What is it? According to achievers.com. Achievers.com says organizational culture is the set of values, beliefs, attitudes, systems, and rules that outline and influence employee behavior within an organization. I'll let my music play slightly lower so that I can be sure that it's not overshadowing my voice. Okay, I'll take that again. Achievers.com. What is organizational culture? Achievers.com says organizational culture, I'm reading verbatim from their quote, their definition, pardon me. Organizational culture is the set of values. The word D, definite. Set of values, beliefs, attitudes, systems, and rules that outline and influence employee behavior within an organization. So values, beliefs, attitudes, systems, rules, all of them influencing and outlining the behavior of people, employees, employers. You know, the little problem I have with this quote is that the word employees, because culture involves everyone. Some of the outstanding, clear-cut understanding you must have about culture is, number 1, it has to be deliberate. I mentioned that earlier. Number 2, culture must involve everyone. Number 3, culture must necessarily, commitment to culture must necessarily begin from leadership. So that's the little challenge I have with Achievers.com's definition. But this is not a day to do that kind of scholarly stuff. Let's go to the second definition by shrm.com. It says An organization's culture defines the proper way. The word proper is very important. The proper way to behave within the organization. This culture consists of shared beliefs and values established by leaders and then communicated and reinforced through various methods, ultimately shaping employee perceptions, behavior, and understanding. Again, I have the word employee. But I love this because there's some kind of inclusion, making everybody equally responsible to an extent where it says that it's established by leaders. But guess what? Culture isn't only supposed to be established by leaders, properly speaking. It should be championed and modeled by the leadership of the organization. From owner to senior executives to line managers or whatever names you call them in the organization, it should and must be top to bottom dimension. Otherwise, it is dead on arrival. So if you saw my post sometime this week, you will see me talking about striking facts that entrepreneurs should, or startup entrepreneurs should take note of if they don't want to be phased out. They should face it up if they don't want to be phased out. And one of the points is that when culture leaves leaders to do anything other than what culture says, then it is dead on arrival. Culture thrives on role modeling majorly. So this definition talks about methods and the rest. This is not the day to talk about the methods. If I'm not likely to give you methods for free, you are likely to be signing up for a session or training on consulting or training or consulting to get methods. Okay, at the end of the day, we whet your appetite and give you so much for free, but we're in business. So if we come to method, my guy, come and pay money. All right, so the third one, before I give you mine, and then I just thought this was important, so you hear what other authorities are saying. So I have this by two scholars, Ravishi and Scott, 2006. They define culture as a set of shared assumptions that guide behaviors. So organizational culture for them is a set of shared assumptions. So assumptions that all of us share. That is the perspective that we have towards anything, but those things that guide our behavior. So let me give you mine. I have to stop because I have plenty of those definitions. I had to do that. Each time I'm on a research like this, you have to work with other people who have done things on that part ahead of you, and it just makes it more robust. So I'm excited. Now here is my own definition, and it has so much directly to do with what I'm talking about today. Are you ready for this? Drum roll. Good. My definition of corporate culture for this, particularly for this show today, is, I said corporate culture is what you deliberately or defaultly say is important to your organization. That's by Olusola-Obasa. It is what you deliberately or defaultly, or you won't say deliberately or by default, say is important. So if deliberately you show, you articulate, you communicate the fact that, for instance, let me use RCV for example. Communication is very huge for us here at RCV. And we're talking about culture. So for us, the culture of communicating clearly, communicating promptly, communicating continuously, communicating effectively, meaningfully, and in line with the set goals of a season, a time, or a task is crucial. So I have deliberately, or we have deliberately come to a point where we decide that, oh, effective communication, we call it communicate on the go sometimes, is crucial to our lives together. So please, we cannot leave it behind. And so we say, deliberately, we have said that this is important. You can unwittingly or defaultly say that gossip is important in your organization. If when you begin to hear that gossip meal is garnering energy, and then you look away, or you assume that, well, so when you by default say that something is important, is when that thing has been allowed, has been permitted over a period of time. So the average person who works in that organization begins to say, oh, well, nobody said we should do this, but everybody who does it nobody has ever questioned anybody that did it. So if you're a leader, you are a HR person, if you are a line manager, if you're a supervisor, if you're a superior in any level, you can relate sometimes to positions where people in the organization say that nobody has ever said this clearly, but nobody has been caught for not doing it or for doing it. Nobody has been reprimanded for not doing it or for doing it. We have never had a communication that says it was not okay. So when a new person comes and the person asks questions like, how do you do this here? They'll go, well, in this place, no one has ever said we shouldn't do this like this. Watch your back door. Hopefully you are not in trouble. When you have that kind of atmosphere, it's proof that your culture is on default mode. It has not been carefully, intentionally crafted, created, designed, or pushed. It means that your company culture is having a life of its own from wheresoever else. It means that the people who should champion culture creation have gone to sleep. And by the time they wake up, it might be too late, because see, buying back toxic culture, unhealthy culture, weak culture in an organization costs more than building it and sustaining it. Like most other things in organization, like customer service, it costs you lesser to have a steadily healthy customer service pattern than to try to do a what do you call it now, a make good, or try to buy back the interest of a client that has already lost interest in you, or try to convince people who have heard about how you didn't treat the other person well to make them patronize you. So you are safer having your culture intentional, deliberate, and clearly articulated. No assumptions. So let me now say like 5 ways you can know that your culture is on default mode. 5 ways. If I'm able to do more, I will. But within the time that I have, let me drop 5 for you. I just explained one. Number 1, when there is plenty of assumptions about almost everything. If you check body language and you lead people, it's easy to know when there is no clarity about a particular person. So you see people do stuff like, I don't know. And if a new person is entering the team, or there's a decision to be made around a particular item, and there's no clarity in terms of what to do and what not to do, you see that people's energy to continue relapses. Like it waits, it idles, waiting for certainty. So one of the ways to know if you are not deliberate about creating or designing your corporate culture is an atmosphere of assumptions. People assume a lot of things. So you hear statements like, I thought, is it? It doesn't mean that people can ask questions, but around things that are very integral to what you do every day, people are helping you see that there's no clear light on this. What is the solution to assumption? Clear cut communication. One of the steps in creating culture for organizations isn't just to design it, it is to articulate it. Articulating it means that you say it in clear, clean, simple, understandable words. But it doesn't stop there. Culture is never done being said. You continue to repeat it. Repetition is crucial to culture integration because that's how it can become internalized or integrated into your system. Okay, those are some bonuses for you today. So the second way you can know if you're operating on a default setting, which is very dangerous for you and your organization, is you can't own what you see. Situations where you can't own what you see happening within your team. How do you know you are in that mode? You hear yourself say things like, when did this start happening here? How did we get here? How did we slip into this? That also, so what is the solution to that? The solution to it is, apart from creating defined corporate culture, you need to strengthen and defend culture. Strengthening culture talks about doing things that matter repeatedly to helping people stay on what is important. Remember my definition, it says that organizational culture is what you have either deliberately or by default said is important to your organization. So when you talk about culture, body language is seldom the thing to adopt. You will create confusion. You must speak and reinforce with non-verbal cues. Not expect that people read your non-verbal cues and then be able to understand what you're saying. It does not work like that because people's framework of interpretation will work differently. And you're soon going to have a commotion. And that brings me to the third point. When there is commotion on your team or your organization, when culture is not well defined, people are at liberty to do things the way it seems okay to them. If somebody feels that they should drag their foot all around or wear floppy slippers into the organization, footwear, or what other things can be really silly, and right now you're wondering, will anybody do that? Don't they have sense? When you create culture, it doesn't mean that you're trying to cage people's creativity or innovation. What you're doing is creating a benchmark for them to thrive. In fact, one of the truths about having a strong corporate culture is the fact that you end up having people who are so satisfied and excited about the work environment, they seldom leave. So it's said that companies with healthy culture retain their good hands a lot more. I have another show where I will roll out the statistics, or probably it's going to be on the 27th when I'm doing my master class. But there are very, very daunting statistics that will shock you. How many have I said already? 3. So when people think that they can do things the way it appears okay to them, then you know that you're on default setting. The fourth one is when your team is the one reminding you of what they think culture is. When your team members or line managers are updating you as either the owner or the CEO or the COO or any other name that the topmost decision-making office administratively is or operationally is called. when it's your team that has to jack you up and say, but we said we'll be doing it this way. But we said we'll be doing it this way. Wow. It shows a total collapse in the structure of your culture. And the entire structure you can have in an organization without a very healthy culture is not safe. That's why Peter Drucker, I told you in the show last week, said that culture will eat strategy for breakfast. It can become an effort in futility, going around believing that you're building an organization that will outlive you, but because you did not show the people, the humans of that organization, what works, what does not work, then you find out there is commotion. There is storm in your kettle or in your teacup. That's another way to know that you may have been on a default setting. The final one, if there is no articulated or documented, I don't want to say document, like I say documented document. So if it's not in black and white, no matter how tests, no matter how inexhaustive, no matter how inexhaustive it can be for any reasons best known to you, if there is no backup document anywhere, even if you have been saying it verbally, but it has not been, like, you're not taking it serious enough to put it in black and white, that's still running the default setting. I'll tell you why that's dangerous. That's because you will need to, yes, I've talked about repetition, but you see, you will need to do plenty of tiring, worrisome reminders. So let it be documented. What happens to this is it makes it transgenerational. It makes it something that when any CEO, if you rotate CEOs for instance, when a CEO leaves, when a HR person leaves, when there's a change of baton across all the offices that should champion or take custody of culture for you, when any one of them changes baton, it's easy. The next person picks up from where that person stopped. Basic orientation, and after that, they are able to pick it faster. It's very, very important. Otherwise, you will find out that you have a situation where the moment someone leaves, you are back to square one. Many of us who are startup entrepreneurs or leaders have been in this problem a number of times. Someone resigns and your company goes down to ground zero because they were your mobile culture. And you find a situation where it's just a few people or one very awesome guy or lady that is everything culture personified. And it gives you so much excitement to say, oh, this person knows everything. But from knowing everything, can you please document and then create a system that makes it, let's call it transgenerational? If you can, then good. That will be all that I have for you today. I truly hope that this has been useful. If it has been, please feel free to leave a comment or ask questions. If there are questions that can be answered on consultancy basis, on counseling basis, we'll do it for free. But if it's going to be eating into the main things that will serve to people who are willing to pay our paying clients, then we'll let you know. But by all means, we're interested in helping you do this. This is very important. And you can ask me the question, at what stage of my business should I start taking culture seriously? If you like, from day one. You need guide on how to go about it. I'm here to help you, and so is my team here to help you. So when we see next week, I will be bringing another very important value to you on corporate culture. Today, I've been able to help you see some signs. That's not all. I just shared 5 signs that can help you know that when it comes to corporate culture, well, am I on default mode or am I on deliberate mode? I've told you that deliberate mode is important, and from going on in all the other sessions I'll have, I'll be showing you, even through statistics, the importance of taking this seriously before it becomes an item of worry. When you do all to gather clients and make your clientele base strong, and you employ people and you believe that you're already growing a business, you don't want to start dealing with culture slips or lags in the middle of your very beautiful ride. Get it started, create a way for it to work, and then continue to reinforce it. Culture needs reinforcement. I'm sure you saw that in one of the definitions I told you earlier. Please ensure that you go through, if you're catching up with this, from the beginning, and this will be very useful to you. I'm going to leave you with a quote, not a quote now, a fact by Gartner Statistics. As per Gartner Statistics, the impact of culture can deliver on business outcomes with better alignment on an increased employee performance that is up to 22%. So when you have a well-aligned team with culture, that team can give you an extra 22% performance above companies that are not clearly articulated when it comes to culture. So this is serious. And there are other very daunting statistics I've come across in my research, and I'm really, really eager to share them with you. So according to these statistics, the impact of culture, well integrated, well aligned on your team, can bring an extra 22% in terms of performance for you. It means that it puts you ahead of the pack. Who doesn't want to take seriously what will put them ahead? But must I tell you the truth? Culture creation, integration, and sustenance is work. I would say usually that that's the main work that a CEO has got. And then you can work with HR, you can work with all other departments that are like frontline people when it comes to culture custody to ensure that it works. But it's not going to work entirely without your involvement. Don't forget, it's about you making the organization entirely fulfill its very essence. People are important in organizations, but people come with their different worldviews of how things should be. Culture creation in the organization is one of the ways to help people begin to share values, share beliefs, share attitudes, share systems, share rules, and get influenced from top to bottom. Thank you so much for being part of Mind Your Character today. I'm very excited. I must remind you that on the 27th of April, I'm going to do a full class. Do well to join me. It's going to be on Instagram, Mind Your Character, and it's also going to stream simultaneously to Olusola-Obasa. So wherever you're joining from, it's going to be an absolute time of value with you. And I'd like to thank everyone who has joined me, everyone who is back and on Team RCV. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. And I can see Mr. Yemi Olodu. Thank you for always joining. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead now and say our goodbyes. You know how we do this already. My music will play louder than it is right now. And that's my way of saying enjoy a fantastic weekend. You have rested enough. All of us should come to work this weekend, right? Culture. What does culture say? Bye, everyone. Stay blessed.